And all over this country tonight, there are people who are scared to death about losing their job, losing their savings, losing their retirement nest eggs, losing their kids to drugs, losing their country. More than ever before, we have an incredible opportunity to tell them that we can't guarantee they won't lose all of those things, but we can tell them about a Savior they'll never lose, because He'll never lose them. And at the time of great uncertainty is the time when the certainty of the message of Christ could never be more important. And that's why Faith Radio is more relevant tonight than it was a year ago or 2 years ago. That's why I hope that you'll join as a partner of it. And also to say thanks for all of you who have made it a part of your family life and your commitment. Let's not look at the worst. Let's think about what God may be up to if we would allow Him to use us to get it done. A lady called her pastor and said, "Pastor, would you come over? I need to see you right away. It's urgent." He said, "Sure." He'd never had this from her before. She was not one of those needy types in the church that always had to have the pastor come over, so he knew it must be important. By the time he got there, he walked in and she asked him to be seated. She says, "Pastor, this won't take long, but I just needed to tell you that I've come from the doctor earlier today. I had some not so good results from some tests, and I'm afraid I don't have much longer on this planet, and I want to get everything squared away for my family. I don't want them to have to go through all the difficulties of making a lot of decisions about my funeral and about what to do with things. I want to get it all taken care of before I go. And I wanted to visit with you right now while I'm still thinking about it, while my head's clear. I want to get everything all lined up." He thought, what a wonderful thing she's doing for her family to cause them to have, or to not have to go through all of that. And she says, "Now, Pastor, when we come to the funeral, which I want you to preside over, I have a very unusual request at the funeral service. I'm sure it's, Pastor, something you've never heard before." And he was thinking to himself, I've been around this a while, and I'm sure I've heard it before. But he was being polite, and he said, "Well, sure, go ahead and tell me." And when she told him what she wanted, he thought to himself, "You're right, lady. I've never heard this before." Because here's what she said. "Pastor, when they place me in the coffin and I'm placed there in front of the church, people are coming by to view my body. I know that's the tradition and the custom. And I know it's normal that you put the hands together of the deceased and you put a bouquet of flowers, and they hold that bouquet of flowers. I don't want a bouquet of flowers in my hand. Promise me you won't have that. I do have a request, though. When my hands are clasped across me, I want you to put in my hands a dinner fork." And he thought, yes, that is the most unusual request I've ever heard. And she says, "I know what you're thinking. I've lost my mind, but I haven't. Pastor, here's what I want you to do. I want you to explain why I wanted it that way." She said, "When we have all those potluck dinners at church, you know how we bring all that stuff and put it out on the tables, and everybody goes through and they get piles of food on their plate and they eat till they don't think they can have another bite, and they're just stuffed to the gills, and they're thinking, oh man, it couldn't get any better than this. And they push their plate in front of them and they rear back in their chairs. And then the ladies from the kitchen will come out wearing aprons, and they'll lean over to pick up their plates, and they'll always say these three words as they lean over to pick up the plate: keep your fork. I'm in Alabama. I know you know what that means. Same thing it means in Arkansas. When they lean over and take your plate but say, keep your fork, you know what those three words mean. You thought it was over. You thought that all that stuff you had, the pot roast and the potatoes and the sweet corn and the casseroles, you thought it was as good as it was going to get, that it couldn't get any better than that. But when those ladies lean over and tell you, keep your fork, you know exactly what that means. It ain't over. And the best is yet to come, because there's a whole table at the back. Coconut cream pie, red velvet cake, chocolate pie, cheesecake, cobbler. Making you hungry, aren't I? Some of you putting a fork in your pocket right now. You know exactly what that means. Keep your fork means you thought you couldn't get this to be any better. But it's not over. And the best is yet to come. She said, Pastor, when people see that fork in my hands, they're going to wonder what it means. I just want you to tell them that we thought this life was pretty good. And there are a lot of people who live their whole life so that they can have something on this earth, thinking that this is what it is. But I want you to tell them something. You tell them to keep their fork, because it ain't over yet. You tell them to keep their fork, because what they thought was a great life hadn't even gotten started yet. You tell them, keep your fork, because the best is yet to come. For all the people who thought that life was about having financial security and a nest egg, what a great time for Faith Radio to be a partner with you, to tell the people, keep your fork. This isn't all there is. Keep your fork. It ain't over yet. Keep your fork. The best is yet to come. Keep your fork and keep your faith. Thank you, and God bless you.